Hi, Internet. Welcome to the Troyan YouTube channel. It is Thin Lizzy Thursday, and the winner of Thin Lizzy Thursday, according to this poll, is one of Greg's songs if he thinks he's so cool. Um, so we are finally having me react to my own music on the channel so I can turn the criticism inward and outward. So here we go. We're gonna be doing this. I was actually, like, truth be told, kind of hoping this wouldn't win, and it's not just for like the weird ego purposes and being like objective with my own music. I feel like I'm actually pretty decent about a fair critique of my own art. It's more just like I didn't feel like recording an extra video, and so it's just more work for me. I put it there as a joke, and then it won. And I'm still obviously going to do the song that came in second place for this week's Thin Lizzy Thursday, but basically it just means more work for me. So yeah, that is the deep dark secrets here. So to make it a little bit more fair and still give the audience some say, I made another poll saying, "Hey, which of my songs should I do? Should I do track?" Because the reason I'm doing this is I got a lot of flack in the comments for not being super stoked about early garage band Thin Lizzy first album when Phil hadn't really matured as a songwriter, commenting on how he hadn't really matured as a songwriter and how it was fine, but it definitely had very early band, we're still figuring out what we're doing energy. I know it is blasphemous to say someone on their first album was still growing as an artist, but those are the hot takes, hashtag hot take Troyan, you get from this channel. Um, so it was track 5 on the first album, and so one of the options I thought would be fair is like track 5 on my first album. No one cared. No one voted for that. Another option was my best recording. What I thought was like the recording that has like the best overall elements, like the closest from the vision in the head coming out in the recording studio. That did okay on the poll. The most popular song, which like we do have a most popular song, our band actually was mildly successful in the local scene. And actually, a fan tattooed the lyrics of one of my songs on her arms, which is the most popular song that we did. Like, that's just like people love that song. That's my wife's favorite song I've done. Like, it's like people like it for a reason. And so that would actually probably make me look pretty good, but only 10% of the people voted for that. 10% of the people voted for a bad song of mine, so I could rip myself a new asshole. I'm also disappointed that didn't win. But what did win is my favorite song that I've written, even if the execution is weak. And so I do have a favorite song I've written. It's off my second album. Uh, on my first album, my favorite song is the song that accidentally turned into a Jim Steinman song, where I started trying to write a Loudness song, and then it turned into a Jim Steinman song. But the song that is actually my favorite song I've written is basically it's a power pop song. It's like Cheap Trick, Rick Springfield, heavier Beatles, a little bit of Bachman Turner Overdrive thrown in. It is just a catchy power pop song. It's called Stop. 3 minutes and 24 seconds. So it's like it is the standard length of a pop song. The infamous 3 minute 33-second pop song, and it's a song I actually debuted with my solo band and then brought over to the glam band. And when I was writing it, my goal was just to write something just stupidly catchy and just something that is just fun, ear candy, makes you feel good, just a feel good song. And I wanted to just write an upbeat love song. Um, and the song actually went over really well live. It became a live staple like instantly. It was a standout at the solo show. Got instantly added to the live set for the band. Um, and like basically, it was a song. The way that I knew the song was good and like it was getting the response I wanted was when we'd play the song live, all the girls would come to the front of the stage, and then all the guys would follow them, and they would like get into it. And so I was like, all right, this is a winner. That is my marker for tone whether or not a song is good. And so I was pleased with the result. I really enjoyed it. It's credited to myself and the bassist, but spoiler alert, like Lennon and McCartney, it's not really a co-write. I basically wrote this entire thing myself, music and lyrics. Um, and so the big thing against this song is me. Is that the vocal on the album version we did? I think is absolutely the wrong approach. I think it's a bad vocal for this song. It is just like the weak link in this is I am not a good singer, and the approach that I took on most of the second album was to sort of hide my weak voice through like aggression and grit. And it works on like some of the heavier songs, but I do not think it works here. So I'm getting that criticism out of the way before we even press play. Is that a weak link here is Greg not the best singer. Um but yeah, let's just dive right into it. So that's like, my immediate criticism of the song, but I will also be as fair as possible and criticize the songwriting too. So let's get into this.
Stop! Wait a minute, baby. I think that I might have fallen in love with you. Stop! Wait a minute, baby. I think that you might have stolen my heart.
Yeah, so right away, not to, toot my own horn, but one of the reasons I started making music was because I would hear songs in my head and I would want to listen to them, and then they didn't exist, so then I had to make them. So I was just like, man, I just wish this song existed. I would sure love to listen to that. Guess I got to do it myself since no one else did it. Um, so obviously, if I write, I try to write stuff that I enjoy that appeals to my sensibilities. And so, where it starts off, very simple, just build, 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 build on that A, and then you've got just a stupidly catchy chorus. And when we would do it live, we would we'd put the hands out, reminiscent of like "Stop in the name of love." That was sort of like I think maybe where the nexus of the idea came from was just my appreciation for like the '60s bubblegum type stuff, and so I just wanted to write a stupidly catchy chorus. And to get into criticism right away, some people think that like when we do the stops in the recording, that can be kind of annoying to listen to. And I would say that's actually a fair criticism because I think the reverb goes on a little bit too long, and I think it needs to cut out more so you can better appreciate that empty space. But it lingers in such a way where it is a little bit messy there, and I think we should have cut back the reverb more. And ultimately, the reason we didn't, which is my fault, is that we kept going back and forth on the settings of the reverb, and I didn't want to annoy the engineer too much, and so I got like sheepish and just left it where I thought it was good enough. But I should have pushed more and really gotten the reverb exactly where it needed to be. It's too much, and it didn't sound good. So I think there's a little bit too much reverb. I think the vocal is too raspy and like the wrong take. It needs to be a prettier, smoother vocal, or just at least like not as like aggressive and mean sounding. So there's that. But I like the boogie woogie, Chuck Berry, kind of stuff going on. It's very, it's glammy. It's got a little bit of a T-Rex edge to it, but it's a little bit more like upbeat. Um, so yeah, that is the the general thoughts I have at the very beginning. You know what? We'll rewind. Don't have to worry about copyright strikes for this one. So yeah, let's get back. Let's start from the beginning.
Stop! Wait a minute, baby. I think that I might have fallen in love with you. Stop! Wait a minute, baby. I think that you might have stolen my heart.
Yeah, and that was another thing I forgot to mention is that live we wouldn't do a complete stop. I would actually stomp, and the drummer would actually hit would like be kicking one of the pedals to keep us in time. So it wouldn't be necessarily a complete stop live, and there is something to be said like maybe some of that should have made it into the recording, but that's ultimately the effect we went with.
From the minute, the moment, the second I laid eyes on you, I knew it, I blew it, I knew there was nothing to do. You put me under your spell, as far as I can tell. Oh, please just wait for a moment, dear. Stop, wait a minute, baby. I think that I might have fallen in love with you. Stop, wait a minute, baby. I think that you might have stolen my heart.
Yeah, so what you'll notice there, this is actually a fun thing that Steve did for the second album. We did lyric videos for both albums, but for the second album, we had a lot of guest musicians appear. And so what he would do is whenever a musician appears or is like currently playing on a track, they will appear in the lyric video. So if you see that guitarist coming in and out, that's actually Phil Schaus, who is the guitarist for Accept, played in the Gene Simmons band, member of Blackfoot. So, really amazing musical pedigree. And we brought him in to play on a different song on the album. But while we were like, still in the studio, I was like, hey, there's a song I think that would fit your sensibilities well. Do you want to just like, toss some leads on top? And that's basically what we did. I gave him a little bit of direction. He kind of understood the vibe of the song. I think they're mixed too loud, and I think they sort of come out of nowhere. So I think we could have like handled it a little bit better. But I mean, this is self-produced, young kids figuring out music. So I think there could have been I think tighter production definitely would have helped this one. Uh, but I think the guitar playing is good, the vibe is good, and it's a feel good love song. The Beatles are my favorite band, and so I just like how it's just you don't it feels good. It's just a good energy love song. It rocks, but it's still poppy. As far as like criticism of the lyrics, I mean, some people may say, "Oh, it's not very deep," but it's meant to be just like it's ear candy, it's melodically pleasing, and I think it's like it has that authentic energy of just like a song that gets you in the headspace of like you're trying to impress girls. So like. I think I think that is an authentic experience that many men can relate to. As far as lyrical criticism, I will give this a criticism. The line, from the minute, the moment, the second I laid eyes on you. I couldn't think of something else that would have worked as well because I wanted to keep the alliteration of M minute, M moment, but then second because I couldn't think of something that was small enough because I was trying to reduce in scale. So it could have been millisecond, but then would have had to change the nets line and just it didn't flow. So I tried to think of something that could go there that was with that alliteration, but ultimately I was not able to come up with something. And so that is something I think falters a little bit in terms of like rule of three. But yeah, otherwise, like, I mean, I dig it. I know I wrote it, but yes, like, hey, react to your favorite song that you've written. So obviously, I'm gonna be generally positive, I guess.
In my heart, I'm asking, I'm begging, I'm pleading, baby, please slow down. I wanna get to know ya, spend some time and hang around.
Oh, so apologies for the lyrics cutting off there. I did not crop this correctly. Lyrics if you need them. Stop, wait a minute, baby. I think that I might have fallen in love with you. Stop, wait a minute, baby. I think that you might have stolen my heart. From the minute, the moment, the second I laid eyes on you, I knew it, I blew it, I knew there was nothing to do. You put me under your spell, as far as I can tell. Oh, please just wait for a moment, dear. Chorus. I'm asking, I'm begging, I'm pleading, baby, please slow down. I want to get to know you, spend some time, and hang around. And I'll just, do the nuts part. You got me on my knees. Ooh, and when I do that live, I would get on my knees, and it was cool. I'm begging, darling, please, just give me a little bit of your time. Yeah, man, You know what? Yeah, I'll go full ego on this. This song is freaking great. This is a rad song. I dig it.
You got me on my knees. I'm begging, darling, please. Just give me a little bit of your time. I said stop.
I'm sorry. That's just a great lead. That's just a great classic rock lead. I've worked with some really great players over the years. I've had lots of frustrations with band members, but like the pedigree of musicians that I have worked with is just like, you know, guys from Warrant, Quiet Riot, Super Drag, Nuclear Bubble Wrap, just all these like amazing bands with these great legacies, and somehow I tricked them to be on my albums. No, this is yeah, you know what? Let's listen to that again. I That is just a great lick.
Bit of your time. I said stop. Wait a minute, baby. I think that I might have fallen in love with you. Stop. Wait a minute, baby. I think that you might have stolen my heart. Heart. Stolen my heart. Heart. Stolen my heart.
All right, so that is actually incorrect there. Steve doesn't know who does the solos on our albums. The solo on this track was actually done by how am I going to point if I the guy in the yellow, Mr. Eric Pentecoff. Um, so yeah, Eric was story behind what was going on in the band this time. So we decided to record an album with the lineup that we had, and then Eric had a kid and basically had to leave the band. As is the case with bands, and so that is why we ended up getting so many guest musicians on the album, was to sort of like fill the gap that him leaving left the band, where there was like one track where we were going to have like a former guitarist on just because he played that song really well when he was with the band, and like the current members didn't have as good of a feel for it. So we were going to bring on like, one guy's a ringer as a guest on one song, and then just turn into like the whole album kind of became that hodgepodge. But this was a song that debuted with my solo band. Eric was in my solo band, and the way he played the solo just became like an iconic part of the song. And so we knew he had to do the solo for this track. And I think that it's a well composed solo. I love a solo that is composed and not just like, let me just toss some random shit out there because I think I'm cool. Like, I like a solo that, has a composition that builds somewhere, a song within a song. And I think this solo does that, where, the chord progression changes up from the bridge, which is just, a nice, pleasant bridge. But then you got the chord progression shift there, and it really is a special solo. There's a couple clams in there and a couple notes I wish we could fix, but it's sort of like, it's sort of the torment with like indie bands is like, you don't have as much money, you don't have as much time necessarily, and with, the different social lives of the band members, and just knowing that like this is sort of like the best take you can get, just because like people are tired, they're working 60 hours a week. You got a kid, you don't have as much time to commit anymore, and then you're eventually leaving the band. And so even though you're getting that solo in and you want to do like a few more takes, you sort of have to know like when to call it and when it's good enough. And so if this was, we have a producer, we have all the money and the luxuries of being able to really focus on this, I would have wanted another couple cracks of the solo. But I think the core of it is there. There's, like I said, there's those couple clams I would like to fix. But overall, it's like it's such a well composed solo. There's no one else who I feel could do this solo other than Eric. Like he had to be the one to do the solo on the song. And so even though it's a sole writing credit for me, I view Eric's solo as like a very iconic part of the song for me personally. So, a lot of praise for that, but also acknowledging that, there is some criticism there to be had. Um, but yeah, so let's move on to the next section of the song.
Please wait, baby, just for a moment longer. But baby, I think I love ya. I think I need ya. Baby, hold on.
Man, so I have got to look like such an asshole being this into my own stuff. Like, oh, the ego on this guy, the ego. But I write stuff I like. What can I say? But yeah, that part. I think it's a really great transition from. Whatever. I'm just gonna just keep it real. It's a great transition from the solo. I sighed because of trying not to be the ego, but whatever. It's a great transition from the solo. I think it's a great transition. Great transition. That's a drop from my podcast. Anyway, because you have this, you had this bridge. Excuse me. You had this bridge before the solo that was like more melodic in nature, and then you had the solo, which sort of changed the dynamic a bit. And then you move into this bridge, which gave you those big, like those Bachman Turner overdrive, those classic rock power chords, the Who, Thin Lizzy, those big power chords and that space musically where you let the momentum and the energy of the drums, carry you. And you have that space so the vocals can stick out a bit more. And so it feels like the song is continually staying interesting, keeping energy. And after the more melodic section, it gives it I feel an appropriate amount of grit, but not going too far. Um, some fun stuff there. I like the baby. And that's fun because my bassist would harmonize with that live. Baby, hold on. I I think that's just it wasn't on purpose, but I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure, that is my subconscious Eddie Money fan coming out there. Um, so I love littering like little musical references throughout the stuff I do, and a lot of them are very intentional. Like I've freaking referenced Thin Lizzy on a number of songs that I do, but this here was the subconscious. This I think this was probably more subconscious than deliberate, but I don't remember. This might have been very deliberate. But yeah, let's rewind a hair and finish up.
Baby, hold on. Stop. Wait a minute, baby. I think that I might have fallen in love with you. Stop. Wait a minute, baby. I think that you might have stolen my stop. Wait a minute, baby. I think that I might have fallen in love with you. Stop. Wait a minute, baby. I think that you might have stolen my heart.
And of course, a variation on the double chorus, rather than just actually going through the entirety of the chorus twice, um, like cutting it off early and then immediately jumping into like cutting it off before the last line before it resolves to the tonic. So then you move into the second chorus. If you resolve to the tonic, then you're not going to want to continue and have that second chorus. So you're expecting it to resolve. But then by moving it to that next part of the chorus, it makes it more interesting to the listener and gives them another chance to savor that hook. Because if you went to the tonic there, it just wouldn't work. You couldn't do a double chorus. And so if you want to do a double chorus, you don't want to go to the tonic. And so that's why we did what we did there. And it works very well with the stop hook and the subverting the expectation of the listener. And so the right amount of what you expect and what you don't expect. Because it is, it's obviously, it's a pop song. It's verse chorus, but there's you know, two bridges, a solo that changes the chord progression, um, a double chorus that subverts the expectation of going to the tonic, um, but ultimately leaves that more satisfying for the listener. So this is Popcraft. This is, like I said, it's a song that went over super well live, like immediately. It's a song where people sang it the first time they heard it live, which is what I tried to do musically. Is I want a song where the audience, if they've never heard the song before, I wanted them to be able to get into it immediately. Because when I would go to shows, I would see these bands play their originals, and they just like they weren't catchy, they weren't easy to gravitate towards, and I found them boring. And I thought about like, going to see bands like Kiss and Poison and just these big sing-along hooks. And I'm like, that is what I want. I wanted something where even if you'd never heard it before, you could latch onto it right away, because I felt as a independent band, as a local band, you have to pull out all the stops and you have to make people like you immediately. And I think that comes first and foremost from your songs. And so that was what I tried to do, was to make a song where it's immediately accessible, but also I don't view this as like selling out, because I'm sincerely into this. I've done things that I've considered to be selling out. This is not it. This is a sincere love of rock music, of glam, of pop craft, of power pop, of the Beatles, of that ilk. And I think it is just, wanting to write a great song, and I think it is a great song. Is it better than Look What the Wind Blew In by Thin Lizzy? In terms of writing, I would say yes. In terms of execution, I would say no. I would say that Thin Lizzy, especially that lineup, was much tighter. Much, much, much tighter. Every lineup of Thin Lizzy is tighter than the tightest lineup of my band has ever been. I think Phil is a much better singer than I am. And so I think even early Phil making like not the best vocal choice is still better than me at my peak. So there is that. But and I think Phil's best songs are better than my best songs. However, I don't think that was necessarily one of his best songs. That was him as an early songwriter. And I think it's fun, and I think it's got youthful energy. I don't think it's a bad song, but do I think this is better? If I'm being honest, yes. Do I think this is better than The Boys Are Back in Town? No. Is it better than Jailbreak? No. Is it better than Dedication? Hell no. Um, but I think this is a solid, respectable song. If I'm ranking it, I don't know. I'll give it an S. Yeah, I'll give this an S. S or high A. I don't really have, as far as problems with the writing, um, the only really issue I have is like that one rule of three that I violated by not having another M. And one could argue that the chorus is either like annoying or awesome, but it's the kind of thing that, like I said, it went over super well live. People liked it. It wasn't our most popular song, but it was one of the concert staples, and I'm proud of it. So yeah, have at it in the comments. This will be interesting because yeah, I think what is gonna happen is that like I'm trying to be like objective and fair, which is difficult when it's your own stuff. But I try to just like I just try to call balls and strikes. So if Thin Lizzy does something that is great, I mean you've got, I don't know, hundreds of videos of me saying like Thin Lizzy is a great band. I wouldn't be doing Thin Lizzy Thursdays if I didn't think they were great. But if I'm like, hey, mildly critical because I like something's got like young band energy, like young band energy isn't always a good thing, And if Look What the Wind Blew In, was so great, it would be on their greatest hits albums. It would have been a concert staple. But I think it got forgotten for a reason. And I think my music, it didn't make it for a reason. I think that ultimately the weak link in my band was my vocals. I think that really held the band back. I think I had some great songs, I had some great ideas, but I think Yeah, I thought about doing a video about this a while ago of like, 10 reasons why my band didn't make it. But basically, me being a weak vocalist hurt the band enough where I couldn't. I Yeah, so me being a weak vocalist, me not having enough money to pay hired guns to compensate for that, because if you're a talented enough musician, people will gravitate around you, and you can kind of get them to play for you for free until you make it. But I don't think I was a good enough singer to attract that talent naturally, or to be able to keep them. Um, because we did get to. I don't know if I mentioned this, but we did talk with a record label. They actually liked one of our singles a lot, and they asked us to write more. The record exec asked us to write more songs in that vein, um, and that and then thought we had the potential of being signed. I met with another guy who thought the band was good, except the image wasn't consistent, and he said that like you and the bassist are good, but the rest of the guys, they don't have the look. And I told that to the band, and their response was, "Well, what does that guy know about music?" And that guy is a very famous manager, so that guy knows a lot about music. And so the fact that he was talking with us and considering us, and then yeah, so I couldn't get people to buy into the vision, and I wasn't talented enough to. I wasn't able to get past my musical shortcomings of being like of like I have a bad wrist, so I couldn't play guitar live. I could write, but I couldn't play live because I would get like the carpal tunnel stuff, and just like I can't do it for an extended period. So like playing live wasn't an option. So I had to rely on other players, and just wasn't a good singer. So great front man, was able to work the crowd, but it just wasn't able to come across in the recordings. And yeah, but I'm still proud of the songwriting, and I think the band did a lot of interesting things. And I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but that's my like trying to be like honest assessment. Um, so yeah, if you don't like the song, I mean, I get it. There's some weaknesses in the recording, and I get that a lot of people can't look past those weaknesses in the recording to get past to like the quality of the song. Um, like I will say, "Look What the Wind Blew In" is a better recording, but I think "Stop" is a better song. That is my hot take. Um, I don't think. I think like maybe Dream Sketcher might agree with me, but she doesn't really like Thin Lizzy. So no one else is going to agree with me. Whatever, I'm used to standing alone on this hill. But let me know what you thought of the song in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and stick around for more Thin Lizzy Thursday. Bye, everyone.